got me building again. I wonder what I could be building. Well, we're gonna really be needing some Lego bricks today, and I have some math problems I'd love for you to help me with today. So, grab your books, grab all your supplies, and let's jump in together. And we are going to continue to work with calculating whole numbers. Now, I know you've already learned a little bit about order of operations, so I'm wondering if you can share with your instructor what you already know about order of operations. During your time of sharing, you might have said something like, well, I know that when there's multiplication and division in one expression, I go from left to right. That's something you may have learned already. Or if I'm working with addition and subtraction in one expression, I too go left to right. I know there's more you've learned, but let's review some of those things today. We're going to start with a story today. So I have Charlie here. Charlie's going to help us out. Now, Charlie, oops. Doesn't like to sit, there we go. Charlie here is building a tree house. Now, Charlie has blocks of wood already stored up for his tree house. He has 6 of them on the floor in his garage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here are his 6. We're gonna line them up like this. So we have 6 of them. On the floor in his garage. He also has 4 shelves . And do you know how many he has on each shelf? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of them on each shelf. Help me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let's keep going. Oh, he has a long piece here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The last shelf. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whew! Well, he's got a great head start. Now, if we're going to write this out as an expression, we would say that he has 6 bricks on the floor plus 4 rows of 8. So when I say that word of, what operation are you going to use? If I said there's 4 groups of 8, excellent. We would use multiplication. 4 groups of. Okay, so we have 6 over here plus 4 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each of those shelves has 8. Okay. Now, as we work through this, where would we start? So you may know that already multiplication does come before addition when we talk about our order of operations, but this helps you visualize it. In looking at this, we would know that we can't add our 6 and 4 first, right? It wouldn't make sense to add 6 bricks to 4 shelves and then multiply that by 8 on each shelf. we know that we need to figure out this right here first. So our 4 times 8 is going to be 32. Great job working on your multiplication facts. And then, of course, we need to add 6 to our 32, which is going to give us the final number of bricks, which is 38. All right, great job. I'm hoping this visual will help you to remember that our multiplication will come before our addition. I'm going to tell you another little story next. Now, while Charlie is building his treehouse, I have Brianna over here. And Brianna is off exploring the world. So Brianna's going to many different places, but at each place, Brianna is collecting postcards. Now, at each place that she stops at, she is collecting 6 scenic postcards. So we're going to write 6 scenic. And 4 postcards of animals. Okay, so this is what Brianna is gathering at each stop. Do you know how many stops she makes? 8. She is making 8 stops. So this is her second stop. And you're going to be thinking about all the different fun places around the world you would like to stop and collect postcards. Here's her 3rd stop, her 4th stop, 5th, 6th, 7. Can't wait to hear about her travels. All right, and at each stop, she collects 6 scenic postcards and 4 of animals. 6 of scenic, 4 of animals at every single stop. Now, how would we write this expression? She has 6 and 4. How many times? 8 times. So we're going to multiply that by 8. Now, I bet this expression looks familiar to you. We just used it with Charlie. But are we going to get the same answer? Well, we shouldn't, because we know, according to our story, we need to be adding our 6 and 4 together first. And this is when our parentheses come in handy. So, by adding my parentheses around my 6 and my 4, that tells me that this is what I need to do first, before our multiplication. All right? So, 6 and 4 are 10. And then I'm going to multiply it by my 8. What's 10 times 8? Great job. 80. So Brianna here has collected, 80 postcards of her travels around the world. So this is a perfect example of when parentheses would be necessary and that you would actually get a different answer, even though we're working with the same numbers and operations. Great job, you guys. We're going to try a different strategy now when it comes to adding multiple numbers in an expression. So let's add multiple numbers here. Let's do 7 and 4 and 5 and 3 and 8. Let's throw one more in there. How about 6? Okay, so we're going to learn some strategies here. We're going to be grouping our numbers in a certain way to make it easier to actually find the sum. So how might you want to group them to make them easier to add? Well, we've talked a lot about, and earlier on in your lessons, about finding ones, tens, or hundreds. So I'm wondering, can we find any hundreds here? I don't see any hundreds. I don't know if I can make 100 out of these numbers, but can I make some tens? Great. I heard you. I heard you say yes. 7 and 3 do make 10. So I'm going to write that 10 down here. Do you see some other numbers we can make another 10? Yes. 6 and 4. That makes another 10. And I'm going to add that down here. Now I have my leftover numbers of 5 and 8. So I can add them separately like this. Or you may already know, even though we're not making a 10 here, you may already know what 8 plus 5 is. So you can put that down here too. And I heard a few of you shout out 13. Yes, 8 and 5 is 13. So now kind of rearranging or regrouping our numbers has made it easier to add. So now we have 10 and 10 and 13. 10, 20, 30, 3. So these are, I'm going to share with you a couple of names of two different properties. Now at this point, it's not necessary to actually memorize these, but just so you know there's a name for them and they're going to be super helpful and useful along the way. One of them is called the commutative property. And this property actually says when you're working with addition here, you can actually move your numbers around at any place you want and you'll still get the same sum. Okay? The second property is called the associative property. And that means that you can group numbers. And it's kind of what we did here. We grouped our 7 and 3 and then our 6 and our 4. You can group your numbers any way you want when you're adding them and you will still get the same sum. Okay, so those are two different properties. We'll learn about a new property in another lesson or two. But those are the ones that they don't only apply to when we're adding, but we'll see in a second how they're actually going to apply when we're multiplying numbers together too. But before we do that, let's try one more that might feel a little trickier, but I think you're going to get it pretty easy. Alrighty, let's try these now. So we have 35 and 30 and 15 and 70. Can you think of a way you would want to group these numbers together to make them easier to add? Yes, let's make some hundreds. I can't make any tens by adding them together because they're all greater than 10, but I could make some hundreds. I noticed already, and you probably did too. 30 and 70 make 100. Now I'm looking at my 35 and 15. Can I make 100 out of those? No, but you may know just by looking at these two numbers, by adding them together, what they would equal. 35 and 15, great, make 50. So you see how we just kind of moved them around to make it a little bit easier for us to mentally add them together. Sometimes writing them down is helpful, but eventually you'll be able to actually do this mentally in your head. All right, let's move on now to a multiplication problem. So like I said before, the commutative and the associative property work with multiplying when we're multiplying numbers also. So if we're going to multiply, let's do 50 times 28 times 2. Okay, so now we're trying to find the product. Remember when we're multiplying, we're going to use that word product, and that's our answer. So what do you want to multiply together first, or what do you want to move around a little bit? Looks like some of you want to actually make 100. You see that 50 times 2, or two groups of 50, is 100. So if we have our 100 and multiply it by our 28, and we've worked a lot on this in our earlier lesson, yes, if I have 28 groups of 100, I'm going to end up getting 28. My two zeros, 100. Great. Well, let's work with a little bit of a trickier one. 86. Ooh, times 25 times, let's do 4. Can we make 100 with two of these numbers? You guys are quick. Yes. 25 times 4, 4 quarters is what? $1 or 100 pennies. So yes, 25 times 4 is going to give us that 100 here. And let's multiply it by our 86. Again, what's 86 times 1? 86. But it's actually 100. So let's get our 2 zeros there. And our final answer is 8,600. So see, not so scary. We group our numbers, if we rearrange them and use the commutative and associative properties, it's really helpful. Now, I have one last question for you. Would these two properties work with division and subtraction? Let's try subtraction first. Let's start with a simple one here. If I had 4 and I'm dividing it by 2, what would I get? Great, 2. Now the associative and the commutative property tells us that we can move these numbers around any way we want and we'll get the same answer. So let's move them around. No, it does not equal 2. 2 divided by 4 does not equal 2. If I had 2 cookies and I needed to divide it amongst 4 people, how much would each person get? Only half a cookie. So it does not work with division. Let's try with subtraction. Let's use our same numbers. If I had 4 and I'm taking 2 away, if I had 4 cookies and I ate 2 of them, phew, I would have 2 left over. If I had 2 cookies and ate 4 of them, I would have -2 cookies left. So this would not work. We cannot utilize this same property with subtraction either. So just remember, it only works with addition and multiplication. All right? Wonderful job today, you guys. We worked hard on moving those numbers around again. Utilize those strategies to make multiplication and addition a little bit easier for you. Bye, guys.